How we doing, guys? Welcome back. We got a midweek show today. Excited to talk through some different stuff with you all. Hope everyone's having a good week. The weather is starting to turn into fall here in Kansas City. I always like the seasons. Saw a great movie last night. Sorry to digress. Saw the movie Nuremberg last night. Boy, that was incredible. I think it could win awards, Academy Awards. Russell Crowe was outstanding as Hermann Goering in that movie. Man, if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's long, 2.5 hours. Saw it with my mom and sister last night, but it was worth the see. Definitely check it out. All right, guys. So I already got into my post-game show last week, and I talked Penn State preview. Got it on the ticker. I want to remind everyone that I think our Huskers are going to pull it out 24-20 over Penn State in Happy Valley this Saturday. Think we're going to get the job done. TJ Lateef, baby. Mistake-free game. I think he's going to play one. But I wanted to do an episode talking about next season, the transfer portal, our recruiting class, kind of where we're at with that. And then I want to talk about our potential draft players, eligible players that could be entering the draft. Want to kind of give some predictions of where I think guys will end up. And then I also, in honor of Emmett Johnson's phenomenal season, I wanted to take a look back at, from my memory, my opinion, the best running back since 2000 at Nebraska, go into their stats and kind of relive their memorable seasons. And then I'll let you guys go. So first things first, let's talk about the key players leaving this season. As the season winds up, another great football season. Wish the Huskers were 10-0 instead of 7-3, but let's get right into it, guys. So Rocco Spindler, he's a draft eligible player. The transfer from Notre Dame. I thought he's had a pretty solid year playing through injury. He's got a cast on his hand and is still balling out. He's a beast, angry, hard-nosed football player. I think he's going to have a good career in the NFL. Javen Wright, middle linebacker, Marquez Watson-Trent, and Desan McCullough. So our three linebackers, two of our starters are going to be gone after this season. And then Henry Latovsky in the middle, offensive guard. He's a beast. I think he's played the best of all of our linemen this season. Deshaun Singleton, our man back in the secondary, has had a great year. I think he's another guy that'll get drafted. Dane Key, disappointing transfer from Kentucky, but he's gone. And then Sierra Wright and Elijah Judy are also gone as well. Sierra Wright, I think, will be a heck of a player in the NFL as long as he stays healthy. Sorry, I had to add in a new headline there. Oh, not yet. Bear with me here. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay. So those are the main studs leaving this year, guys. So again, not a ton to replace. I know in years past, we've had a lot more talent leaving, and we had to find guys to replace in the portal. So not a ton leaving. We have a lot of guys back. That's why you hear Coach Rule talking about how young this team is. So it's definitely not the end of the world. Of those guys, I think here are the draft eligible guys. Past 20 years, Nebraska has not sent a lot of guys to the NFL draft. I don't know why my camera is so blurry. I apologize. And I think we're going to change that this year. I think Rule's got this program on the right track. I think he's bringing in the talent that we need. I know most of these guys, all of them, well, most of them he didn't recruit other than the transfer guys, Desan McCullough, Dane Key, and Marquez Watson-Trent. But I think these are the guys right here that are going to get drafted. I hope it happens. It's important for the brand. It's important for Nebraska to get back to where they want. We got to start sending guys to the NFL. Now I want to get into, of these players, Emmett Johnson, Desan McCullough, Rocco Spindler, Deshaun Singleton, Dane Key, Javen Wright, and Marquez Watson-Trent, which one of them is going to get drafted? So starting off with Emmett, I think he's going to be a third-round pick. I know Mel Kiper and some of those guys have him as a top 10 running back. I think he will be a day 2 pick. Yes, he doesn't have the size, but it's not just this season. It's his ability. It's what he puts on film, but it's his athletic ability. It's his speed, but it's also his ability to catch passes out of the backfield. In a day and age where the passing game is so much more complex and running backs have to be multifaceted, I think that's why he lands in day 2 as a 3rd-round pick, is his catching ability. But also, man, he's just tough as nails. He doesn't have the size that NFL scouts want, but I think you're seeing this season, you just keep feeding him. He's unfazed. He can take a lot of hits. He's got a big heart, runs like his hair's on fire. So I think somebody's going to get lucky to get him. If he stays healthy, I think he could have a solid 10-year career in the NFL. The key thing is if he stays healthy. Sierra Wright, who is having the quietest, really good season in my memory. He shuts down a whole side of the field. That's extremely valuable. Next season, when we lose some of these guys in the secondary and we're struggling back there, we're going to realize how good we had it. He's not making a ton of plays. He's not a great tackler, lacks size. So I think that's what's taken him from the 1st to the 3rd round. But he's got the speed. He's got the athleticism and the talent. Obviously, he was a highly touted recruit coming out of high school. But he's a lockdown corner, and in the NFL, that's what you need. A guy that can shut down one side of the field is huge. So someone's going to nab him in the 3rd round. Rocco Spindler, Notre Dame transfer boy. I think he's a 4th rounder. Look, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an NFL scout, but, I've watched football for 30 years, and I've watched a lot of NFL drafts, and I've followed Nebraska players closely, and I don't think he had on film this season the year he had hoped. The injury could have derailed him. It didn't. He's playing through it, but I think there's some things he needs to work on, especially in pass protection. I think as a run blocker, he's a beast. He's got that aggression, that tenacity. But, you get up to the next level at the NFL, pass protection's every bit as important, and we'll see. I think that pushes him back to the 4th round. Again, a very highly touted guy out of high school, 4-star recruit coming into Notre Dame. So I think he's gonna get drafted for sure, 4th to 7th round. Deshaun Singleton, if he was a little bit faster, man, he would be a top 3 round guy. I see him going in the 5th. Great tackler, has the NFL body you want. I mean, just the prototypical safety body that you want in the NFL. So he's a big dude, good tackler. I think he's been our leading tackler the last 2 seasons. Doesn't get a ton of interceptions, doesn't have a ton of, go get the ball, mobility and athleticism. So I think that'll hurt him, but I do think he's gonna get drafted before the week is done. I see him going in the 5th. Dasan McCullough, man, you want to talk about a guy that I'm extremely disappointed in, and I've talked about it on this pod, a guy with all the talent in the world, coming from first committed to Indiana and then Oklahoma and then to Nebraska. But a perennial recruit out of high school, Kansas City, Kansas, 4-star recruit. I thought his best football he played at Oklahoma. I remember watching him in the Red River Shootout a few years ago, flying around at linebacker. I think it may have been a mistake putting him as a rush end. I don't think he's got the body to be that in the NFL. I think he's more of a prototypical linebacker, outside linebacker, like an Isaiah Simmons, who went to Clemson. But he's not had a great year. He's only got 2.5 sacks on the year, which is disappointing. He'll be back, suited up, playing against Penn State this week, but he's just too soft. I've talked about my annoyances with his play. He doesn't play smart. He's the guy that's always trying to go around the edge, trying to sack the quarterback, leaving a big running lane for the quarterback or whoever's got the ball. He shows flashes of, oh my God, who is that? I remember the Michigan game. He came through twice on a couple plays and blew the play up, but he's not consistent enough. He doesn't have the physicality. I don't think he's mean enough. I think he's a little too soft. The talent and athleticism is there. His body, the way he's built, he's an NFL guy. But I think he drops to the 5th or 6th round. And then Dane Key, my most disappointing guy on offense. Even though he's played hard the last few weeks and has given it his all, I don't think effort's in question. Just doesn't have the ability to break away and get open. I think physicality is part of the issue there. I think he's improved his blocking this season, but he just can't get open enough. Not a guy that's going to make plays for you at the next level. So 6th or 7th round if he goes. And then I thought Marquez Watson-Trent would have a great year. Why he's not playing more and one of our starters, I don't know. They like Vincent Shavers. Marquez Watson-Trent is graded incredible on PFF every week when he has enough plays to garner a grade. But I think Javin Wright, and Elijah Jeudy will be undrafted free agent signings. Elijah Jeudy just hasn't made enough plays, hasn't shown the dominance consistently this year to garner, notoriety. I think he's a big guy. He was a highly touted recruit out of high school, big body. I think he'll get a chance, but it'll be a free agent signing. Javin Wright just is a little bit uncoordinated and awkward for me. He's got real long arms. He's got the body to be an NFL linebacker, but I don't think he's coordinated enough. He's got those real lanky, long arms, and he's more of a safety to me. I think if he makes it in the NFL, Javin Wright will become a safety hybrid type. He's a good tackler, has pretty good speed and athleticism, but I think it's something to do with just the coordination. You watch him play, and I just go, that's not an NFL guy. Good college player, but I don't think he'll make anything of himself in the pros. Watson-Trent, who I was really hoping to be an all-conference player, just didn't get enough playing time, but he will get signed by an NFL team. I know he's undersized at 6 feet. I think that's ultimately what's hurt him getting more playing time in the Big Ten, but I think he's still a stud. He was a 2-time All-American, FCS All-American at Georgia Southern, so don't sleep on him. All right, with the transfer portal coming up in January, the season's coming to a close. That's when the craziness really starts. I want to talk about some of the guys I think could potentially transfer out of Nebraska, starting with Ja'Cory Barney. And no, I'm not just basing this off of NCAA football 26, playing franchise mode with the Huskers. And every time I do one with them, Ja'Cory Barney's transferring out. But I don't know. It's our style of play. He's not a physical. He's tough. He can take hits. We've seen that, especially in his freshman season. But he's not a guy that can break a lot of tackles. He's not physical in nature. He's speed. Get him the ball in open space. Let him go. Let him return punts. He hasn't shown the consistency. Even, when everyone was going off about him during his freshman season last year, I still thought, you saw flashes of why he was a 4-star recruit, but it's the consistency, right? And in the Big Ten, you need physical receivers that can get open because these corners are going to bump you at the line of scrimmage. In the Big Ten, the corners and secondary get physical. And we've seen with these transfer receivers that we love to get every year, a lot of times they struggle to get open in the Big Ten Conference. Dane Key being an example. I see Ja'Cory leaving. I think he's better off in a different offense. I just don't think that, he's going to be okay with his lack of production, going from the guy last year to the guy a couple of games this year, but now it's really Isaiah Hunter's show. And I don't know. I just have a feeling he might look around and might get poached. He's a talented guy with a lot of speed and upside, deep ball threat. And I think with the struggles we've seen with Raiola and getting him more passes, I think that's a potential possibility. Heinrich Harburg, he's a redshirt junior, so he could come back. I don't see that happening. I know he's a Nebraska kid, but he's a good player, good college player. He could go to a smaller program and be a stud, whether it's as a quarterback or a tight end. But he just isn't getting enough playing time, and I don't see that changing with the tight end room that we have. Mac Markway will be coming back next year, the transfer from LSU. We'll have Lindenmeyer back. So I think he and also Carter Nelson, who that's really disappointing if we lose him because of, he was such a highly touted recruit, Carter Nelson, number 1 tight end in the country coming out of high school, but he's not getting hardly any playing time. And I don't see that changing with the room we got. Lindenmeyer coming back, the freshman tight end we just got in 26, and then with Mac Markway coming back. I see those two clearing out. Cameron Lenhart just hasn't panned out. It's disappointing after the really solid freshman year he had, but he's getting playing time. He's not playing well. There's no development. So I think I've heard rumors from some people, but I just see that happening. TJ Lateef, the better he plays, the higher the likelihood that he's going to leave, which, it is what it is. But I think he's going to end up getting poached. I think someone's going to want to go after him in the portal. With the impatience nowadays in college football, I think that's something that's going to happen because Matt Rule is not going to give up on Dylan Raiola. That's his guy. He's in love with him. They're best friends. That's his boy. So I think TJ Lateef will end up leaving. And then last but not least, Quentin Ives, who I really wish would get more playing time. He's a big back. I thought he could be that complement to Emmett Johnson this year, but he just has been nowhere to be found, buried in the depth chart. I see him leaving and going to find a school where he can get some more playing time. I hope it's not more than this, man. Matt Rule's done a good job of keeping our team intact, even in the transfer portal, but we'll see. So targets for Nebraska. I want to get into who should we be looking at? And this is where I really like to get into some stuff. So we had some news recently, a few days ago. Boo Carter, a safety who was with Tennessee, highly touted recruit, 4-star, top 150 player, 4th overall athlete coming out of high school. So the talent's there. Had some issues, some character issues. I haven't looked much into it, seen a couple articles, but he left Tennessee the other day. So he's going to be available. We need a safety to replace Deshaun Singleton. All the best teams in college football have studs, elite safeties. I think that's going to be a big loss, losing Singleton back there. I think getting a guy like this with experience, with talent, who could come in and play right away would be huge. I hope Matt Rule and John Butler are already going after this guy because safety is going to be a position that we need. The other guy, Dylan Edwards, little, undersized, but like Emmett, just out in space, dangerous as anything. Faster than heck, runs a 4.35 out of Kansas, initially went to Colorado, then K-State, then just entered the portal. I think it's a guy that Nebraska is going to eye. We need to replace Emmett Johnson, especially if he goes to the draft. And this could be a guy that could help out Dylan Raiola next season. In the passing game, dump it off to him, let him go. That's something that could definitely help this offense out when we get into a lull. He's a guy that we should get. I really hope that we can make those two happen. Beyond that, there hasn't, obviously the portal opens in January, so not a lot of activity, but I think these are the positions we need to be looking at. So like always, it starts in the trenches, defensive end and defensive tackle. We need 2, 3, 4 guys that can come in, add depth, right? And get in there and start wreaking havoc because we didn't do it enough this season. It's hurt us big time. The best Nebraska teams in my memory got after the quarterback, and we need to target big time a defensive end and a defensive tackle to help out that line. I know we've got Riley Van Poppel. We've got Keona Davis. We've got Williams Winery, Gabe Moore. We've got a lot of guys back on the line, but again, depth's everything, and we need some playmakers. Offensive tackle, we're going to lose Turner Corcoran and Teddy Prohaska. So we're going to need a new offensive tackle. I think if Gunnar Gatula, who's been our right tackle before he got hurt, if we move him to guard, which I like, we need someone to replace him alongside of Elijah Pritchett, who will be our left tackle. That's a big spot. We've got to prioritize that. 1 or 2 offensive tackles would be great. Again, depth's everything. As you see throughout the year, guys get hurt. So I think it starts defensive end and defensive tackle, then an offensive tackle, safety, running back, we already talked about, and then I think tight end, because I see Carter Nelson and Heinrich Harburg, one or both, leaving in the portal. So we'd love to have a guy. There is a guy, Benjamin Brahmer, who got injured, but he's at Iowa State, out of Nebraska, coming out of high school. He's a guy that we could target, highly touted recruit out of high school, has lacked production, but mainly because of his injury this year. But I think that's the guy to go look at. 2 to 3 solid tight ends is a necessity these days. And then lastly, outside linebacker, since we're losing Marquez Watson, Trent, and Deshaun McCullough, I think we got to go get one at least. I know we've got V9, Vincent Shavers, and Dawson Merritt coming back. Christian Jones at middle should be our starter next year. Highly touted guy to Nebraska. But I think we need to go get an outside linebacker to add depth and get some competition brewing so we don't see how much we lost from this season, right? When you look year to year, it's always evident, wow, we really missed that guy. Like this season, we really missed Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmacher. Well, the way you minimize that is by getting after it in the portal. So I think a safety, hopefully Boo Carter, running back, Dylan Edwards, defensive line, rush in, D tackle, a rush in that gets after the quarterback, baby. And guys will be entering, and then one or two defensive tackles that can plug the middle, an offensive tackle, a tight end, and an outside linebacker. Let's get after it. Our current recruiting class is at 11 commits. I don't understand this. Rules explained it. You know, we have a lot of guys, you know, with the roster limitations and the roster size limitations now, we can only take a certain amount. But, you know, you look at these other perennial powers, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, they're always having big classes, top 25, top 10 in the nation. So it sucks that, you know, we have such a small class. We do have some studs. Danny Odom is our top recruit in this class. He shut down his recruitment last week. That's good. Cornerback out of Florida. Definitely going to help us on the back end. I just saw Dayton Raiola decommitted. I don't really care. Younger brother of Dylan. I don't think he's got the talent or the upside of Dylan. He is more mobile, but again, 3-star recruit. I'm not a big fan of Dylan right now to begin with, so I'm okay with that. And then we've got Claude and Puma, a stud offensive tackle. So again, with only 11 guys in this recruiting class at a high school, we need to get active in the transfer portal. So I'm excited to see what Rule and Co. are going to do this offseason because they've got a lot to go find. But a lot coming back, of course. There's a lot of excitement for next season for Nebraska, year 4 of Matt Rule. But we got work to do. Last thing I want to hit on, guys, in honor of Emmett Johnson having a Heisman-worthy year, not really, but a first-team All-Big Ten year, I want to look at the best Husker running back since 2000. So I'm 30, so I wasn't alive in the early to mid-90s and 70s back when we were winning national titles, had Heisman Trophy winners. So this is just off my memory. Top 5 running backs since 2000. Let me know what you guys think. Give me your comments, what you would change, what you would have done differently. But this takes me back down memory lane, baby. So 5 top running backs since 2000. Starting at number 5, Brandon Jackson. If you guys remember him, man, I remember in 2006, his final season with the Huskers. It was in Lincoln, Nebraska versus Texas, Colt McCoy's freshman year. And Nebraska was like 19th. Texas was ranked 5th. And it started to snow. It was one of the most memorable, fun games I've been to with my dad. But he had an incredible game against Texas that day. The play I remember is he caught a pass, broke like 6 tackles, and then took it 40-plus yards for a touchdown. The crowd went nuts, and then it started snowing. Still lost that game by a field goal. But you want to talk about a guy that in the Bill Callahan era was a beast, underappreciated, ran hard, undersized, not a huge back. But he was consistent, and we gave him the ball a lot. He was a workhorse, and his 06 season was memorable. 188 carries, 989 yards, so just shy of 1,000, 8 touchdowns. But you see what he did in the passing game as well. I thought if he could have had another year under his belt, he was a JUCO transfer. He really could have done made an impression at Nebraska even more than he did. But man, just his shiftiness, similar to Emmett, the jump cut, but man, this guy did it differently. Love that guy. Brandon Jackson, baby. I've got Emmett number 4. And it's because of this season. Hasn't done a whole lot the previous 2 years, but it'd be awesome if he stayed for his senior year. He'd end up being the rushing leader likely, possibly. So I've got him at 4. Let's go to 3, Rex Burkhead. Definition of a Nebraska football player, baby. That's what I used to say about him when he was playing. If you wanted to find, or if you put a picture of a Nebraska football player in the dictionary, it would be him, representing our team. Hard-nosed, tough kid. Could give him 30 carries a game and he wouldn't get tired. He just wouldn't show it. Bruiser, man. Didn't have the game-changing speed or the elite track speed, but he was shifty. His juke move was the best I've ever seen. Not jump cut, juke move. I remember his catch against Ohio State for a touchdown and that comeback in 2011. Taylor Martinez threw it to him. He caught it and then whoop, jump cut, juked a guy, ran it 20-plus yards for a touchdown. But you look at his 2011 season, 2012, he was dealing with some injuries. But 2011, 1,357 yards and 15 touchdowns. My God. And again, a guy that wasn't very big, but just a tough, hard-nosed kid. A lot of years he played for the Patriots in the NFL. Love that guy. Miss him all the time. Roy Helu Jr. Helu and goodbye, baby. I remember the game I was at against Mizzou in 2010. He broke the single-game rushing record at Nebraska, 307 yards against Missouri. He had a second gear, and he showed it in that game. Really put together 3 strong seasons at Nebraska from 08 to 2010. You see the stats. 2008, put up 803 yards, 7 touchdowns, really was splitting carries that year. 2009 is when he really got after it. 220 attempts for 1,100 yards and 10 touchdowns. And then closing it out in 2010, 188 attempts, 1,245 yards and 11 touchdowns. He had that game-breaking speed. We saw it against Missouri when he broke the rushing record. We saw it in 2010 in the Big 12 championship against Oklahoma when he took one to the house. K-State in 2011, he'd take one to the house. So he had that game-breaking speed. I think the only issue with Roy Helu is he ran high, and he had fumble issues. But, man, you want to talk about a guy that put up consistent numbers 3 straight years. Just an absolute beast and had a pretty long career in the NFL. Roy Helu, baby. And last but not least, Amir Abdullah. Probably my favorite player ever to watch at Nebraska, and very similar to Emmett Johnson. In 2014, when Amir was a senior, having his Heisman campaign, I remember how much the game seemed to slow down to him. Like every time we gave him the ball, whether there was a running lane or hole or not, he was going to squirt and find a way to get positive yardage. And a lot of times would turn it into a first down and more. That's what Emmett's doing. The game's slowing down for them. I remember it in 2014, Nebraska, Miami, and Lincoln. We beat Miami. Amir it was like his coming out game where he's letting the nation know he's not someone to mess with. The amount of tackles he broke, the amount of Hurricane defenders he made miss, I'll never forget that. And just how hard he ran. He initiated contact. And then he also had the game-breaking speed, the play against Murray State, so many plays, the kick returns, the punt returns. He was explosive. And it's disappointing he didn't have the NFL career. I know he's still in the league, returning kicks. Didn't have the career that you would have hoped or would have thought. But, again, the NFL is a different beast. You look at his numbers. 2012 was his breakout year when Rex Burkhead was hurt, and they were splitting carries. And Amir just had a coming-out party in 2012. 1,100 yards. Then in 2013, his best season. People want to point to his senior campaign, but in 2013, he had 1,690 yards and 9 touchdowns. That was incredible. I remember being at the Rose Bowl at UCLA Stadium in 2012 with my dad and older brother watching Nebraska lose to UCLA. But he had an incredible game, scored like 4 touchdowns, was running all over the Bruins. That was awesome. So his 2012 to 2014 has been unmatched. I don't think anyone's going to do it for a long time. Man, I sure miss him. So that's my last segment, guys. Wanted to kind of just jump on here and talk about some different things as we close out the year and look ahead to the offseason. So I'm hoping the Huskers can pull out a victory. Again, my prediction for this Saturday, Nebraska 24, Penn State 20. I feel disrespected, honestly, that they're favored by 9.5. Again, I get that they almost beat Indiana. I get that they have a highly talented roster, and it's at Penn State, which is a tough place to play. But come on, man. They got to give us a little bit of respect. But again, I think if Latif plays a mistake-free game like he did against UCLA, and we have some guys step up on the perimeter, and Isaiah Hunter, Dane Key, Luke Lindenmeyer, and we can make enough plays in the passing game, get a couple turnovers, we can pull this one out as we head into the final game of the year, Black Friday with Iowa. So leave comments. Let me know what you think. I'll see you guys after the Penn State game as we preview Iowa next week. Have a good rest of your week, and go Huskers.